free in anything that you want to. Kicking it with Coach LA's time to listen to conversations that's gonna keep you winning. Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on the urban just calling. Conversations with Coach La 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 La. Coach La 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 La.
What is going on, beautiful people? Once again, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach La. I'm super excited to be here with you tonight. How y'all feeling? All right. Got to get this volume right. How y'all feeling? Happy Sunday, everyone. It has been a busy day for your favorite Around the Way therapist. When I tell you, I have done a lot today. I had an event today. Pole therapy was today, and it was a beautiful event. Shout out to Be Healthy and Estelle's, who made the beautiful brunch that we had today. Oh, it was so delicious. We had white egg whites and we had turkey bacon, and they made these coconut pancakes that were just so delicious. So it was a beautiful day. Shout out to Miss Harisa, to Vic Breedy, to Nava the Butterfly. And tonight's conversation, I had to bring our special featured poet and saxophonist, who's all the way here from New York. And she is a multi-instrumentalist. She's so creative. She has a wonderful spirit. And today she blessed us with her presence. She came all the way from Endicott, New York, and she is a shapeshifter. And I didn't know that she actually went to Berklee. And I thought that was just like, okay, wait a minute, sister, you from here. She's been inspired by Alice Coltrane and Grover Washington. And she's not just a saxophonist, but she plays the flute. She's a poet. She does composition. She even has a whole band, what she calls the Mary Orji Visionaries Collective. And they just travel and do some amazing things. So I'm super excited to have her on Conversations with Coach La. She's going to tell us more about who she is above and beyond her bio. So let me bring her on camera. How are you doing, Miss Mary?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me today.
Oh,
I'm so excited.
I know. I'm super excited too.
Excited.
Oh my goodness. Today was so phenomenal.
Yeah, it was so beautiful.
We had such a beautiful day.
Yes, the community was so beautiful. Being able to even come, and thank you, Coach La, for even having me and building such a beautiful community. Like, you're helping so many people that, are in the Boston area, and, your presence is felt and heard. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. I know today you definitely blessed the audience. They were mesmerized by you. And one of the things I love about your energy is you got up and you moved and you interacted with the crowd, and you wanted everybody to feel safe. And I think movement in itself is so good for the body. I think sometimes we forget to be childlike and to allow our bodies to be free. So I really enjoyed your performance. What did you think about today? Like,
it was so beautiful for me. I traveled down from New York, and my life has been so busy lately. And so, I just came from California.
Touché.
And then I went to New York for a gig, and then I'm here. But it was so beautiful. I just knew I was going to connect with community. And I was telling you before, I had a good feeling about today. I knew that today was a really important day. And I was like, I got to make sure I come here and, open up and really play. And, I feel like it's my purpose, to see people shine and see people smile, when I pick up that horn. And that's what happened today. People were sitting down. I was like, get up.
Yes,
I was like, I had to command the room real quick. I said, y'all, if y'all hear me play, y'all gonna dance. Y'all gonna have fun with me. So just seeing people come alive was so beautiful, because, you never know what people are going through. So
you really don't. And I think,
never do.
One of the things I love about doing this show is bringing different people from different walks of life. So
Yes.
I got so excited, I just jumped in. You guys know y'all are tuned into the Urban Heat 98.1 FM. This is Coach La 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 La. And I'm your favorite around the way therapist. And tonight's conversation is all about purpose in the arts. And I think today we did Pole Therapy 10. So I've been doing pole therapy for a year and a half now. And every session is a collective of speaking to your senses. So from what you smell, what you taste, what you see, what you feel. And I took a little pivot today and we did a writer's brunch workshop that I think a lot of people was surprised that they could write and sort of tap into that creative side. And the power of using the arts to improve your mental health is so serious.
True.
And you know, we're radio with a purpose. Here at the Urban Heat, we always are trying in our purposes to bring life to the community through artists, through music, through the conversations that we have. So I'm excited to learn more about you. Now I gave some little pieces of your bio.
Yeah.
But if I was to ask you, who is Mary Orji? Who are you? And I want you to add all of the elements about your culture, because you gave us a nice depiction with your poem that you dedicated to your grandmother today. So who is she?
Who is she? So my name is Mary Orji, and also my Nigerian name is Ogbonné. So I go by both, Ogbonné or Mary. And I am a first generation Nigerian American who is pretty much a creative shapeshifter, as you know. I do it all. I do, saxophone. I'm a flautist as well. I play cello. I compose music. I'm a band leader. I'm a lyricist and rapper as well. So, it's just, I do a lot. And also I'm a creative director. So it's like, I have a lot under my umbrella, and I'm working with everything God gave me. So, you actually introduced me really well. So I am from Endicott, New York. Endicott, New York. And I just recently graduated from Berklee College of Music in May. And I was at
Congratulations.
Berklee. Thank you so much. So I was at Berklee for some time, and, I was working really hard, and I ended up my junior year making the Mary Orji Visionaries Collective, which is my band. And I founded those pieces, and like my entire essence, I would say, could be found in the Mary Orji Visionaries Collective. I compose mostly all the music, and, it's kind of all about me, but, people can relate to the music, you know what I mean? And I think, that's why my band is the way it is. People support my mission and everything because, they all can relate to it as souls. So, yeah.
What I love is you do composition.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't understand just the beauty in being able to do that. So you don't just play by ear, you write out music and you compose it.
Yeah.
So I know what the difference is, but for anyone who's listening, what is the difference between, being able to just listen? I forgot the technical name for that versus compose.
Yeah. So listening to music, what I did today, I did a set of R&B. So that was transcribing music and, repeating it verbatim, doing a cover. And composition is pretty much the element of, creating a song, and you create a song, let's say, one of your favorite songs, and it's the rhythm section or just the instrumental track of it, and I could sit down and I could write it all out if I need to and bring it to a band and then say, hey, y'all, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to play. So that's the means of composition. And usually for me, when I'm with my band, my composition process, some musicians do not want sheet music. And that's a crazy thing because, some people are like, hey, just could we feel it out? Or could you sing it to me? And then, I'll do that. So sometimes in my band, my compositional process will be coming with the song. I'll try to play it on piano for my pianist, and then she'll be like, okay, girl, you sit down. You having a hard time because I hate playing piano. But, I'll show her, and then I'll say to my drummer, I'll say, hey, can you do this? And like, we build it right there in the moment. And I think that's where the magic comes from too. But I do both. And usually I'll write a composition, have it in my brain and on my voice memos, bring it to the band, and then I'll actually write it out later on. So
Right.
yeah, so that's pretty much my process with that a little bit.
So, we were talking earlier at Pole Therapy, and I want to take a minute real quick just to give some shout outs to everybody that's tuned in through iHeartRadio, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and Instagram. And shout out to everyone who's checked in the chat. What's going on, DJ Wade? I see you. What's going on, Main Topic? I appreciate you tuning in. And we have somebody who is also told us that you are dope.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that you were you at Grace by Nia?
Yeah, I was at Grace by Nia. I think when was it? For New Year's Eve. I did a New Year's Eve gig over there.
Yeah. So yeah, they said they saw you at Grace by Nia. They was like, I could be wrong. Nope, that was her. You got it right. Facebook user. I don't know your name because I'm using StreamYard, but I see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. DJ Wade, yes, we see you. And I love you right back.
And also I'll be I think at Grace by Nia, it'll be announced soon. I'll be doing a show there again. So yeah,
well, I'm gonna be front and center. So don't you forget about Conversations with Coach La.
I definitely will. I will reach out to you real quick.
Yes.
Gotta make a reservation.
So if you didn't come to Pole Therapy today, right? Because I know it was a small, intimate setting and we sold those tickets out. So everybody who wanted to come couldn't come. But it was a pivot to really help people tap into their creative side. We did writing prompts. We workshopped a poem. We listened to saxophone. When I tell you, we was all in our arts and creative bag today.
Yes.
Not to mention we ate good too.
That's true.
We did eat very well.
From Estella's. That was
so
really good.
One of the things that we did today is we had a writing prompt, and you did a poem off the dome that you wrote. We wrote about a mundane item. And what did you think about that process of like sort of being put on the spot?
Oh, I love it. Like I live in that. I think that's the way I operate my creativity is like really spontaneous. Can't speak English today, but spontaneous. So
I don't think that's a word.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? Sometimes you make it up and you just got to feel it out. But for me, it's like spontaneous. So my compositional process is like, I kind of just give myself the day and I'll make something and I trust those thoughts. So leaning into things like that in a community setting and teaching people like, okay, like let's do these prompts together. You know what I mean? And you're forcing people to start thinking in that way. And what people don't really understand is the more you do things like that, the more you're able to access this energy, that's of abundance. And I call it the flow zone that I was talking about today with a lot of people. And once you always, you can tap into that flow zone, you will always be able to, as a musician, as a composer, as just anyone. It's just the way you drive. You know how you drive every single day? Like you get in the car, you don't think about it. You just go to your destination. Right. It's the same thing. So I feel like as musicians, as people who are creative, you have to find your alignment within your craft so you could be able to pull it out so quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it gets to a point where it's like, I don't even have to think. I could make a song right here. And I'm like, ba-ba-da-da, ba-ba-da-da. And that's the bass line right there, ba-ba-da-da, ba-ba-da-da, and put some rhythm behind it. And then the horns.
Y'all see she acting up right now. She's showing out real quick. About to write a whole song live.
But, that was just like an example a little bit. But, it's always thinking in that zone. And once you're in that zone, it's so beautiful. So I thought today was so beautiful to be able to do that in a community setting. And I did a collaboration with another, I think his name is D4.
Shout out to D4.
Shout out D4. So me and him, we ended up doing a poem together. And it was really cool to do it with someone because I was just like, you know what? We're both here, like, let's just write a poem together. And he was so open to it. And he was feeding me and I was feeding him and we were coming up with lines together. And that's the act of collaboration. And it makes it more accessible. You know what I mean? It makes it more fun because you have someone to struggle with, and find those pathways. So, yeah.
Yeah. What was interesting is that everybody took different spins.
Yeah.
The writing prompt was to pick something, a pen, a pillow, a stapler. What am I forgetting? A pen, a pillow, a staple, a cup.
Cup.
And you had to write about the struggles and the beauty of that particular item in a very creative way. So we heard all different versions.
That's true.
Where some of them you could tell right away that they would talk what they were talking about, but I enjoyed it immensely. It really was a really dope experience. So we talk a lot about therapy, and you know, it is Black History Month. And one of the things that you wrote in your bio, it says that your music expresses your love for the higher power of evoking the ancestors.
Yes.
Through fuses of poems and music and rhythm and freeness, and tapping into the collective consciousness of the universe to bring healing and light to anyone who listens.
Yes.
What a profound way to articulate that I am bad. I write stuff, you know, like, you know, I can't, not supposed to curse on the air, but I was just like, okay, you better come through, sis. So, you know, when I heard that, I thought a lot about the healing power of music and how music is therapy.
Oh, yeah.
And then we talked about one of the questions that we had asked today when you were on the panel was what inspires you to write? And shout out to Vic Breedy. Vic Breedy said that pain is typically the source of where and how she gets inspired to write.
Yeah.
And so I thought about Mary J. Blige. I thought about some people, I don't know if you heard this, but they're like, I like sad Mary. I like Mary that's going through some things because her writing is on a different level when she's going through something.
Yeah.
So when you think about your writing process in the channeling that you talked to us about earlier, I'm hoping you can speak a little bit to that and tie in what does therapy mean to you, and maybe even give us a little taste of some of your work.
Yes. Even now, it's crazy that you say that. So like, especially if you all don't know, I have a visual album called Conception out, and Conception's like the awakening of me. And it's a beautiful visual album done by a beautiful videographer, cinematographer named Remington Strecker. And it's like the awakening of me, and it's me stepping into my power. I turned 21 and I was like, I just started writing music. I was like, I gotta have this awakening, like something's calling me to it, you know? So that ends up happening. And that was a phase in my life. That was 21. And now I'm in, you know, well, I'm not in it anymore, but when I was 22, I wrote another album. And this is where I'm tying in a lot that we've been talking about. We talked about the flow zone. And whenever I write albums, I could write them in a week span. And like it's not me flexing, but it's me saying my flow zone, you know what I mean? And like
it's okay if you flexing.
It's not
it's
like
okay
because some people think it's a flex, and I'm just like, no, that's just how I am, you know, and I'm just describing my process. So it's this beautiful flow zone that I'm able to get into. So Conception was my 21 chapter, and Perception is my next upcoming album coming. I'm not going to say the date yet. You just got to follow me either on Instagram or my website to get the date. But Perception is my 22nd chapter, and I'm talking about a lot of stuff that I was going through. And it was, you know, I was graduating. I was at the time just, you know, like in random things and like, you know, getting rid of relationships. And it was just so much, you know, and the only thing that could really heal me was writing it out. And I feel like I'm a vessel. I have to go through all these experiences. I'm like, dang, why do I have to go through these experiences? And then I write like the best song of my life. And I'm like, oh, you know, so I understand that with the Mary situation, like even on Perception, it's not out yet, but I wrote some music that I'm like, you know, it's just, you know, it's about getting your heart broken, you know what I mean? And then it's like some music about, you know, finding love and, you know, just that the ups and downs of it, you know, of a relationship. So it was just like all of that stuff that I kind of channeled and put through my music. And I realized that I needed to go through those experiences, and I realized music is my therapy. So whenever I go through something very traumatic or something big in my life, I tend to have to write it out. And I don't turn to, like, you know, I do turn to people. I have my people in my corner, of course, and I love therapy because please, if I could tell somebody my business, you know, and they keep it for free and they don't tell nobody, listen, I'm there. But and we figure out solutions. But you know, by me being able to write and alchemize like any pain that I go through and put it in a song, it helps other people. And I realized that, like, as musicians, I say we're shamans. We're doing something that most people, the collective of the earth can't do, or
Mhm.
they don't aspire to do it. You know what I mean? So we're pretty much the truth bearers for our generations, and
Mhm.
people, the right people, flock to you. You know what I mean? And they find you, and then they're like, "This is my person." You know what I mean? And you just see how you transform people's lives.
Right.
So, and I started to see that a little bit even with Conception. I wrote that, and I wrote a song called what is it? Energy. And when I tell you, I got like a lot of DMs. People were like, "Man, like this, like I needed this. Like I
Right.
I feel this on a soul level." And I'm like, "Oh, like this song helped you?" Like, you just don't think about that. And when people
Mhm.
see your personal power, like my first project, Conception, people get inspired by that, and they're like, "If she could pop her ish, then I could pop my ish too." You know what I mean? The
Mhm.
right people understand that, and then some people might take it like, "Oh, she's being cocky when you're confident." So it's a lot of things like that. But that's me just trying to say in particular, like my music is pretty much my therapy of being able to talk, and talk about my feelings and process a lot of stuff. And therapy is really important in a whole, because you need to be able to speak out to somebody or transmute what you're going through another experience, for yourself, to like let go of that baggage. So yeah.
Mhm. I just found your profile on Berklee too.
Okay.
I'm about to post her profile
What profile?
that I found on Berklee College of Music.
What one they have?
Well, they got you on here. They with your band.
Is that the one? Is
Yep,
it
on
for people?
campus. The summer one. I didn't pull it up. Look at it being nosy.
Oh, not that one, not that one. There's another one. It says if you search up Conception BPC show, and you'll find that one. That's the more updated version. That one's not.
Well, we if they Google you, all this stuff is
Oh
out here.
yeah,
So they
all
put your
those ones.
name in,
Yeah,
they're gonna find it.
they're gonna find
Yeah,
it.
they're gonna find it.
They're
So
gonna
we
find
go
it.
listen,
Mary
y'all
Orji.
you guys keep searching and finding stuff. I always at the end of the show
Yeah,
put more in there as well. But feel free to to,
yeah.
to look her up. And then I'll also tag her. I was looking for your Instagram. That's
Oh,
what I was looking
it's
for.
Ogbonné Ogbonne Orji official on Instagram. So if anyone needs that, and I know Coach La would
I'm gonna
put that
type it
on.
all in too.
Mhm.
So, one of the things I've noticed about a lot of people who are um musicians,
Yeah.
they play more than one instrument.
Oh yeah.
So tell me about all that you play, because I know
It's a
today we
lot.
found out you play the saxophone,
Yeah.
but then we also found out you play the flute too.
Oh yeah. My journey with instruments is kind of crazy. When I was around 5 to 6 years old, I started the cello, and I was in public school, systems, and I got introduced to music. I'm the only musician in my family, so
Really?
yeah. And I come from a Nigerian family. Like my dad's Nigerian, my mom's American. Just so y'all know the the thing. So like it kind of was like frowned upon. You know what I mean? Like
Music?
from yeah, like from my like dad's family a little bit more, because they don't understand, like usually in Nigerian culture, you have doctors and lawyers. You know what I mean? They don't understand
I have to be careful
that.
because I don't want to stereotype, but I have heard that.
Yeah, no,
Like,
it's true. I mean, I'm saying it.
doctors, lawyers,
Yeah,
those are the professions that are really highly
sought about,
respected and
respected,
encouraged.
encouraged. Yeah, but I'm really thankful for my parents, though, because they really, once I told them, I was like, I want to be a musician, this is my life. My mom and my dad, they went like 360 on me. They did what they had to do. They made sure, like even today, like making sure that I'm set. You know what I mean? Like even though Coach La got me here, y'all pay for my hotel and everything, my travel. Thank you so much.
I try.
No, it was so beautiful, so beautiful. But
I try.
my parents always are my biggest supporters. So they're in the background, like, express yourself. You know what I mean? So they saw the vision before it even happened. So I started music really, really young, and I played cello, and then I picked up the saxophone the next year, and I was on the cello, um, and then I flute as well, because saxophonist, um, it's easy for us to double. That's what they call it. So
Mhm.
I have a flute teacher. Her name is Barbara Gannon. Thank you, Barbara. She literally taught me like my junior and senior year flute, and we would just go in like learning the rudiments, making sure I was set because as a woman and like not a woman, but as an instrumentalist, like there's a lot that people require of you. So it's
Right.
just a different level. Like I go to certain events and, people are like, hey, I need a flute player. And, to double my pay, I'll pick up that flute, to make sure everything works out, or clarinet even. So it's just a lot of things, but making sure that I can play instruments at a high level because my profession demands it, and
Mhm.
that's how you get the gig. That's, usually what they say, you got to make sure you're as versatile and up to date for these people, So.
And I love your versatility.
Mhm.
And what I love too is your stage presence.
Oh, thank you.
So like when I met you, you were so shy,
Yeah.
and then I don't know why that is. Tell me, maybe I'm wrong, but do you find that a lot of creatives and entertainers in general tend to be very shy when you talk
Mm,
to them off stage? And
I
then they just open up and it's like, oh my goodness.
I know a lot of people actually say that about me because, like, they say, "Oh, like, you're just so calm," when you first meet me, and
Yeah.
then you see me perform, and then you're like, "What?"
Like,
So
what is going on? Like
what
you
is
just
going
open.
on?
I
So
found the video that I put when I was promoting you being at Po Therapy,
yeah,
and I think you have on all white, and
yeah,
you're talking your ish, okay?
okay,
And I
okay.
was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was that the push through the rap.
Yes,
Yes,
yes. I
yes.
was like, what? I didn't know she talked like that.
Yeah, I do. I do. It's kind of crazy. That I could tell you the little background about that. That song "Push Through." If you guys search it up, the Mary Orji Visionaries Collective, "Push Through." I was at Berklee at the time, and I was facing a lot of, I'm a Black woman doing what I do, and it's so easy for us to get discouraged, in spaces where people don't look like us. And when you have a big vision, the way I had
Mhm.
conception, there was a lot of people that I was trying to reach out to that didn't believe in my mission at all. So
Mm.
push through is kind of like you could say it was a diss for a couple people, you know what I mean? And it's just me saying, hey, like I'm not gonna let you confine me to a box anymore, because you're not gonna dim my light. So it kind of starts off and it says I'm a multifaceted bad bit,
Mhm. Go ahead.
coming in like I
Go
ain't
ahead.
had.
Go
I don't know if
ahead.
I could curse on here,
You
so
can't curse, but
I
we
can't
got
curse.
you.
Okay, so it just goes. I'm a multifaceted bad bit coming in like I ain't had.
Mhm.
Longevity is the awakening of the average. I'm the poet, the visionary, and the savage. I make it look easy, but I work for my line of passage. I pray times will tell who I am and what I foster. I'm meant to shine and prosper, call a proper pasta with some lobster. I'm a sweetheart and total mobster, loving light, but I'm holding the new roster. So,
You
that's just
better go ahead. All right, can we give
yes.
her some snaps?
Thank
Yes.
you.
I love that. I love that. When I
Yeah.
found that, I was like, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, that might be one of my
That's one of
faves.
your faves.
Yeah.
Thank you. So
I'm putting it in the chat so
put it
y'all
in
can
the
find
chat.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was just me kind of like affirming myself. I'm in the space where people, it's a high, Berkeley is one of those schools. It's a very high ranking school. And it's like, it's a lot of pressure that comes with Berkeley.
Mhm.
So it's like, I was tired of people just putting me down or making me the underdog. And I was just like, F y'all, like, here's this. But also with that, I lead with love and light. So that's why through the rap, I said, I'm a sweetheart and total savage, love and light plus, like I'm letting you know, like I am a really nice person, but don't tempt me.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
don't play with me.
Don't play with me because it's just like when people see that you're so nice, they think that you're pushover. You know what I mean? And then
Mhm.
they say, "Oh, she's so nice. She wouldn't, do anything." But what people fail to realize, I think there's a difference. It's like you could be a kind person or a good person, something like that. And I'd rather be someone who is a good person who has boundary within my niceness. You know what I mean? So it's like that's how you protect your energy. You
Mhm.
could come to me today and my morals and everything is to help others and love others, but I
Mhm.
do it with a boundary because I have to protect myself. I have to make
Mhm.
sure, hey, Mary's cup is not going overflow with, you know what I mean? And I'm not, just hurting myself in the process. And when you do things like that, now you could be the best person in the world because you know how to enforce that boundary, and that's literally that.
I love that you are speaking this way.
Yeah.
But if I caught you correctly, you said you were only 22 years old.
I'm
right?
23.
Oh,
I just turned 23 on January 26th. I'm an aqua.
Let me confirm.
Yeah.
23.
23.
For you to be 23,
Mm-hmm.
how did you obtain so much insight? I mean, there's some people much older than you that struggle with creating boundaries.
Yeah, I think it all stems from, I don't know. I feel like I've lived like 1,000 lives. And I tell people this, like maybe I was here before, like literally. But I think it comes from my parents. I give a lot of praise to them because the way they raised me, they're very intuitive people and very spiritual people. And, they kind of are like the first visionaries I've seen in my life, that, they really are like, I don't know how to explain it. They're love and light, but they have their boundary about them. You know what I mean? So when you see your parents have that, and my mom in particular raising me, she shows me like, okay, my mom's very spiritual, but very sensitive. So she always enforces boundaries with her friends, with her family. And she'll be like, this is the way I move, and when you see your parents move like that, it makes you move like that. You know what I mean? So it's like those good qualities where I'm like, okay, my dad, I see how he moves, he makes sure his business is in alignment and everything's in alignment. And then he could be able to go out with his friends, or, you know what I mean? Like you see that type of business sense from my dad. And then from my mom, I see protect my energy. She'd be like, okay, you know what? The energy is not right here. So I'm going to get up and leave. Like that's her. That's
really?
her. Yes.
Shout
that's
out
her.
to mom.
Shout out to my mom. So, it's like seeing people like that and having strong people in my corner like that, it just taught me a lot. And I had to go through my own little trials and tribulations, to get to this point and to understand them, the things that, they tell me knowledge, but for a long time, I'll be like, they're my parents, I don't got to listen to them. And then I start realizing, oh, they probably understand life a little better than me. You know what I mean? So
when do you think that switch happened for you? Because shout out to all of us who have teenagers. My son's 18. And for coming from a parent's perspective, you're waiting to see
when it clicks for them,
when the things that you've taught your child start to manifest in terms of their decision making and how they move. And it switches from just being defiant, right? Or just like, I ain't listening because you're my parent. When do you think that switched for you?
When I turned 21.
21.
So and that was when I released my album Conception. And Conception is a really important album because I gave homage to my family in it. Like my brother, I wrote songs for my brother, my mom, my dad, and me. And I started realizing that, I don't know, some people call it a spiritual awakening, I guess. But that's when I started to realize, oh, my parents are human. My parents are people. Because that's another thing. I think a lot of people get into it where for the longest time, I only see my mom as mom. I didn't see her as, she's not going to be mad at this, but mom, I'm using this as context, but Patricia, you know what I mean? Like people see her as,
isn't that so
you know what I mean?
They say, mom, if you're listening, I'm just
I don't like calling her by, but like, she's a human. So you see one facet of your parent. You never seen them, be with their friends, be with their family when they were younger. So it took a lot of introspection for me to be like, who are my parents? And I started picking their brain and I'm starting to see who they are. And then I started to see the respect factor come back in. Like the respect factor was always there, but it was just obligated. You know what I mean? But now I chose that. You know what I mean? I chose that with my parents. I'm like, wow, like, my mom is a really dope woman. Like, like she is an OG. Like, you know what I mean? She's someone who is really inspiring. And, I'm picking her interest. And I actually did something when I was home, like a couple winter breaks ago. I was picking their brain and I was like, mom, like, what are things you love? What are things you do? You know what I mean? And it opened up this tunnel. I said, oh, you know what I mean? I connected with her as a soul. And me and my mom were talking and I called her. I said, they say mom, but I feel like you're just my soul mentor. You know what I mean? Like my parents are that. You know what I mean? And when you see it like that perspective, it changes everything. Like those are my people. I'd rather die for them. But that's my soul mentor. Like we're souls and we're taking this journey together, and they're just in a different timeline, and they're just helping me get to where I need to be. And then when I have children, I'll get them to where they need to be. And, my mom in particular, shout out to her. I know I'm talking a lot about my parents, y'all, but it's important. My mom, she like growing up, she wanted to do music, and arts and stuff, but she never had no one there for her. And this is stuff I learned like later on in my years. And people didn't, and her family didn't show up for her performances. So she gave it all up. And then when I came, my mom never missed any of my performances. She was at everything. Like when I tell you, she was running down. But when I got to college, it was different. Like she would get sad. She would be like, "Oh, I wish I could have came to the show." I'm like, "Girl, please."
Yeah. Just FYI, she was trying to get her mom was trying to come to Boston.
Was trying to come.
So that's real though.
Yeah.
You know what's so interesting about what you're saying. In therapy, often people come and they go, "I don't want to talk about my parents."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
"I don't want to talk about my childhood."
Yeah.
And I go, "Okay," because I never want to like force it. I'm like, but we can start wherever you're comfortable.
That's true.
But 99.9% of the time,
yeah,
it always ends up at some point circling back to their upbringing and their parents. So I say that to say the fact that you're talking about your parents and their influence on you is really important. But I think we often negate the influence that parents can have when they're not positive.
Oh, yeah.
As well. We sometimes want to say, "Oh, well, yeah, I don't want to think about that. That doesn't have anything to do with it." But the reality of it is what you're describing is such a pivotal connection and moment of reflection that we all need to make. And that is the place where empathy and forgiveness and understanding happens in terms of a parent. Even if the parent was absentee, if the parent didn't do what you expected or needed them to do,
that's true.
That moment that you realize that they're human,
it changes
with
everything.
Flaws,
changes everything.
Imperfections, it changes everything. So it's beautiful. Again, today has been one of those moments for me where I have literally, if I could have written this out like a script
today,
it has like unfolded in such a magnificent way that it would almost look like I had planned it. Like, earlier today we were talking about anxiety and the number one fear most people have is public speaking.
Oh yeah, I remember
which
that.
is connected to anxiety. And one of the seasoned poets just had a whole brain freeze in front of us.
I remember that.
And she said she felt so held because of how we responded to it. And so what you're saying, and even in this moment of your mom showing up and being there and them supporting your performances, that does wonders to your mental health.
Oh, it does.
And your confidence. It makes you feel invincible, and it aligns your purpose. Because sometimes you could be on your purpose, but somebody like a parent, a teacher, or someone says, "Yeah, you shouldn't do that," or "That's not going to work."
Oh, it will hurt you.
You can then get off of track.
Yeah.
Because no one believed in what you believed in, and you didn't have the confidence to say, "No, this is what I'm going to do."
You know what's funny, Coach La? Like, oh my God, you just hit the nail on the point right there.
Thank you, darling.
Yeah,
I do. I happen to be a psychotherapist.
I know, boo. But I was gonna say, it's crazy. Like, even though my parents, they've always been there for me, there's been times though where, especially when I started like a lot of things that I started to do, they might not see the vision, you know what I mean? And I have to push it. Like, probably my mom would be like, "How are you going to get this? How are you going to get that?" And I'll be like, "Hey, listen, you just, like," I'll be like, you say it in a nice way. You'd be like, "Mom, let me just figure it out and then I'll show you the results." And you know what I mean? So it's been things like that. But like, I understand having, parents that, it's really the start of every relationship you will be in. And I tell people this all the time. Me and my cousin actually were talking about this, and I was saying your relationship with your parents, that's your first relationship with, like, let's say, for me, it would be like my first relationship with a man and a first relationship with a woman.
Better stop dropping all these bars on conversations with Coach La.
No, but
do you know how often I tell people this in therapy, and they probably just think, I'm just saying this stuff, but to have you say these things,
it's big.
I tell men this often, your daughter
That's the
is
first relationship.
watching how she should be treated through how you treat other women,
Talk
her
about it.
mother, and her, how you spend time with her, what you do.
Yeah.
It's so important. And at the same time, sometimes people just don't know.
They just don't know.
They just
And,
don't
you know, that's when you start accepting bare minimums in your relationships. You know, I grew up, you know, my dad, I'm a daddy's girl, mommy's girl. But especially with my dad, it was more like, okay, you know, like we always had a close relationship. And, you know, over time, you know, I was a teenager once, so I was a little reckless. I would be like, oh, raw, you know, like getting mad and everything. But the one thing I will say is like my dad did teach me my, like, especially with dealing with the people who identify as the male species, you know, how to deal with them. It's like, you know, my dad used to buy me flowers, you know, and used to buy me little booklets that say, I'm thankful you're my daughter, you know, and take me out on dates. So it allowed me to be able to see, like, when a man comes to me, like, you can't give me the bare minimum. You know what I mean? Like,
shout out to your daddy.
Shout out to my daddy. So it's like, and he's a Nigerian man. He's a bald-headed Nigerian man at that. Anyone who knows, you know, they don't play. So I don't mean to put him out on that, but he knows what I mean.
Shout out to your daddy.
Yeah, but you know, but it's a relationship, and you know, I give my parents that grace now because you know they're in their 60s now too. So it's like, you know, they're getting older in age, but I realize that they're human, and sometimes they do make mistakes. Don't get it wrong; like they're not always perfect.
That's right.
But you know, if we are able to talk about situations together, like I remember I was going through it with like some of my, you know, my mom and my dad, and I'm just like, okay, we got to find a medium ground. Like something's going on, and you know, I grow. So sometimes by me growing, it changes everything. You know what I mean? Like they have to learn a new version of me because, you know, yesterday I was saying, oh yeah, I love Hot Pockets. And now today I hate Hot Pockets. You know what I mean? So like,
I'm sure they're probably used to this.
They're used to it.
Yeah,
they're used to it. But you know, it's cultivating that and building your connection with your people. But I know not everybody has that. And I understand the privilege that I have. And since I understand the privilege that I have, if I can make awareness in that area to other people, then it helps, you know, the collective in a sense. You know what I mean? The way we're talking about it right now. So of
I
how
think I do. I think often we don't realize that our perception. It's funny because this is what you named your albums, right?
This is my album about. And it's about this viewpoint.
You did a great visual video on your Instagram. How we see things, our thoughts about our perception of how we see things has so much to do with how we feel about it, and then how we show up. I said that on last week's show too, but so much of it is about thinking. You know, we was talking about some of my motivations in terms of my fitness and my wellness goals and how so much of it starts in my own mind. And we have to be self-aware. So I just admire your level of self-awareness at 23.
Thank you.
So you guys are tuned into Conversations with Coach Live right here on the Urban Heat 98.1 FM. And I tell you every week that we are truly radio with a purpose. And I have deemed myself your favorite around the way therapist, but a lot of people have validated that. And I think because I've said it so much, it's now being manifested that I truly am your favorite around the way therapist. Shout out to Steve Goolsby and Mark Gonzalez. What's going on? Thank you for tuning into the show. Everybody that's on iHeartRadio, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Thank you so much for tuning in. YouTube too for tuning in. I know that there's so many platforms going on. So if I don't give you a shout out, I only have so many windows. If you see me looking around and doing different things, it's because I'm trying to like toggle to the different screens so I can see who's listening and give you a shout out. You know, one of the things you mentioned was about the influence of your father.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if you know this, but those that listen every week, I talk about the influence of my father and his influence in terms of how I now am moving and motivating myself because he's no longer physically here anymore.
My apologies.
And yes, thank you.
My condolences.
I miss him every day. But what has grounded me in my grieving him, because grief to me is not linear, it's cyclical. You have your moments when you're in acceptance, and then there's other days you're sad, and other days you're mad. Then it changes. It never goes away.
Never goes away.
But he used to tell me to bet on myself, and you know, and a lot of what you've already done, you sort of have started to interweave that into the conversation about you betting on yourself with your your albums and while you were at Berklee, and your father's ability to really lift you up and make sure you have that confidence as a woman. Bet on self moments are those moments, those epiphanies where you go, if not now, then when? If not me, then who?
That's
right.
true.
And it's about kind of being in this place of, I can't expect whatever my parents did or didn't do to be my rationale or my reason for not living my life.
Oh yeah.
So how do you think, using that context and that labeling, what kind of bet on self moments have you seen yourself have at this tender age of 23?
23. Oh wow, that's a deep one. I think for myself, I just came from LA, and I was telling you that, and I actually, a bet on self moment actually I had over the summertime. So I graduated in May, and over the summertime I gave up all my gigs, and I was going through a little bit of health issues. Like I had a bad back because my horn is so heavy, and I needed to exercise and get myself healthy again. But I gave up all my gigs in the summertime, and I only took on like 2 or 3 gigs. And I told myself, I said, if I could give up everything, I will gain everything. If that makes sense. Like if I could give up, just, you know what I mean? Make that sacrifice. Because I had so many gigs lined up for the summertime. I was going to make some money. You know what I mean? Anyone knows that's the wedding band season. So, as a saxophonist, I'm making some money. But I gave up everything. And I remember I worked so hard to do some of the stuff that I was, about to do. And I told my parents, I called them, I said, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm giving this all up. And, my mom was like, is everything okay? My dad's, they're in New York. I'm in Boston at the time. And everybody thought something was wrong with me. Even my friends, people were hitting me up like, girl, are you okay? Like, someone told me you just said no to the gig. You know what I mean? You just got subs for everything. And I didn't tell anyone, but if anyone's like, into the Bible or just into like different, chapters in the Bible, there's a book of Job, and the book of Job pretty much says it's like, it's this character in the Bible, and please don't quote me all the way, y'all. I just know the prefaces of this, but Job pretty much, he honored God, he loved God, and I think it was, somebody told God like, oh, do you think he loves you, with, because he he has all this stuff from you. He only loves you for the things that you do for him. And God said, let me show you, so they tested Job, took away everything, his cattle, his family, everybody.
I remember this one.
Yeah. And everybody around him was pretty much like, oh, what did you do to God? Like, people just started like hating him, like really putting him down. And in that essence, Job says to God, he's just like, I don't know what I did, but I still praise you. And Job is still praising God and acting as if he's, like still got it, still, even with everything going on around him. And God sees that and blesses him 10 times over and flow. And I felt like I didn't understand it at the moment, but then a girlfriend of mine named Esther, amazing, and she's in my band, she's a visionary, she comes to me and she's like reading the Bible to me, and she's reading the book of Job, and she's telling me, and I was like, that's the season I'm in. And the season was me giving up. Like I was forced, like I felt in my soul I didn't want to do anything. And I'm supposed to, as a musician, be gigging actively and doing all this stuff, but I realized that I had to give that all up, because all praise to God, and God comes first. And it was like, if this is truly your purpose, could you give that up? You know what I mean? Can you give that up? Your purpose is something that you do and you attach yourself to, but you have to be connected to it. You can't be attached to it. And I was attached to it. I was attached with the outcome of it, like, oh, it looks like this, but if I'm connected to something, then it means I could, like, it's like, let's say like what is it? If you super glue a piece of paper to you and it gets attached to you, if you try to rip that off, it's going to rip your skin. But if you act as if like, you treat the relationship as like something you could plug into, like plug, I don't know, a computer up, right? And you could always displug and then you still keep yourself. You know what I mean? So when I realized what I was doing.
She's dropping all kinds. Listen, she's dropping so many bars right now. I hope y'all are paying attention to what she's saying.
So
don't be attached, be connected to your purpose.
To your purpose. And I started to realize that. I said, oh, I got some work to do. So it took months on end, and I'm just coming back to gig. and do things. And I was like, God, I was like, I'm going to trust you in this season. I went back. I dropped everything. I was supposed to move back to Boston, like move into apartment in Boston. I gave that up. I said, I'm going back to New York. I'm going to figure this out. I got some healing to do. And the healing was being around my family, seeing what perspectives I could get from different people, understand myself a little bit more, take away my purpose, the saxophone, all this stuff, and really rebuild myself. And by me doing that, the things that now, like, and just a couple of weeks ago in December, actually, I said, God, I'm ready to go back. I want to go back, but let me know. A plethora of things started coming. Like, people started hitting me up for gigs. I'm like, whoa. And that's how I got my LA gig at NAMM. Like, and it was like boom, 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 boom. And you reached out to me.
And that's how I met you.
Yes.
We met. We didn't talk a lot about that, but we met at WGBH.
Yes.
At Soulful Saturdays, which is hosted and curated by Amanda Shea, who is the Poet of the Year here in Boston. And ironically, I feel like I wrote down in my vision that 2024 was my year of collaborations.
I remember you said that.
Collaborations that were in alignment with my purpose and my direction, and also me looking at, I didn't want to be doing everything by myself, but I didn't want necessarily for somebody to be an employee, but for me to be able to pour into someone else and then pour into me. And you were one of those people that along how I've been doing this, I met you and we vibed because I was having serious imposter syndrome and anxiety. And people think, sometimes when you say stuff, people think, you're bluffing or you're just selling, as the young people say, are you capping or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's real. Like,
it's real.
I'm constantly pushing myself
to
one, for my own purpose, but then I didn't start saying bet on self. So there's this pressure sometimes that I feel I got to take my own advice and live up to what I'm telling everybody else to do.
Yeah.
And to be frank, sometimes it's like, I don't have the motivation.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not in the space to want to break bread and be social. Sometimes I get tired and I have to go pour into myself. So I think it's so beautiful of you saying to unplug.
Yeah.
Right. And be able to disconnect. And that doesn't mean that you don't know your purpose. Sometimes it means that that's a recharge, a refuel, so that you can get more in alignment and focused, because we can't get distracted.
Yeah. It's so easy to get distracted. And, even speaking about imposter syndrome, before I was 21, I went through it really bad. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of things. And I started realizing the people around me, I had to change that. You know what I mean? I have to change everything around me. So it's big. And, when you get in that Job season, all I got to say is you got to thug it out. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard because it's like, you take everything away from you and you gain everything. You know what I mean? And I would do it all again if I have to. If I get called to, listen, I'll be on halt real quick. I'll stay in my room and I'll be watching a movie, and trying to get better at my craft. But, I just understand that attachment is the root of all evil. So, I don't want to attach myself. I need to connect myself to people, places, and things. I don't stay tied to it anymore. So
that is such a dope concept when you think about what causes anxiety and depression.
That's what causes it. Attachment.
Losing something, right? Yes. People don't understand you can grieve anything. You can grieve a pair of shoes.
Yes.
Right? And be all bent out of shape because you had to throw that pair of shoes away or that you lost something. And being able to, in your spirit, understand that you will always get it back twofold. You don't have to be attached to anything. Be it connected. It can have a great memory, but that goes for people too.
Oh yeah.
I think about one of the leading things that brings people often to therapy is a breakup, a pending divorce, or being divorced.
Yes.
It's loss.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so understanding that your source is not that thing. And so what's Nipsey Hussle girl?
Nipsey.
What was Nipsey Hussle's girl?
Laura London.
Laura London talked about killing her ego and understanding that often to love someone, there's ego and there's attachment, and it's not really love. Yeah. What you are is more obsession and controlling in a lot of ways.
That's true.
People don't want to acknowledge that, but jealousy and envy and all of those things usually are connected to attachment.
That's true.
And being able to just be free and understand what's for you is for you. If
Yeah.
God said it's for you, it's gonna be
It's
for
gonna
you.
be for you.
Nobody's not gonna be able to take that from you.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? You kind of hit a topic on perception. My album coming up, I actually talk about that, about being in a relationship and, having to break up that relationship just to find myself and find God again, because I realized, ooh, attachment is hard. You know what I mean? When you start
Especially when they fine.
oh,
and they smell nice,
smell good, everything,
and
you
they
like,
know, and they know what they doing. Listen, don't think. Listen, I was a human and I was a woman before I became a psychotherapist. So I'm very much attuned to everything.
Yeah.
People put that, oh, well, yes, you're a therapist. But
Mhm.
that so bothers me.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That's
right?
true.
That I'm a therapist. That
means
all
you
that
live
means is
life.
I have education, I have tools and skills.
That's true.
But I'm at my core still a human being.
That is true. That is true. And like, I understand that. I think people start to see you as like an angel. You know what I mean?
Put you on this pedestal.
And
that almost like
feel.
idolization. And
idolization.
then it's like, sheesh, I hope I don't never fall.
Yeah.
Because then what? Right? Once you realize that I'm human and I'm flawed.
Yeah.
And some people, and that has sometimes, initially would cause me to think that maybe I wasn't supposed to do this work.
No, you are.
And then I realized, as long as I'm a few steps ahead of someone and I have something to share, I definitely can. But some people want you to live in this place of perfection, which doesn't exist.
And that's when you have to just say to those people, like, I don't care. Like,
listen, I don't say anything to them. You know what I do?
Don't say nothing.
I bet on myself, and I continue to live out loud and show by example. And I am vulnerable in spaces that most people probably would not be vulnerable. So I continue to challenge myself to talk about the stuff that's uncomfortable.
That's true.
Like that I have imposter syndrome and that I get nervous and I don't always know the answers and I need help.
And that's okay.
And all of that allows other people to be human too.
Oh yeah. Even in Poe therapy, today when you said that somebody forgot, I think, some of the poem, and you just allowed them to be free. You know what I mean? And see that it's perfection, like, all that stuff about perfectionism. So, but I'll let you go on to your next question.
So, we holding space, and part of even doing this show was to take myself beyond my office, beyond sitting across one-on-one from somebody and then thinking about how else can I make an impact.
Yeah.
When I'm only one person, I only have so much time. I can't see everybody.
That's true.
So I'm hoping that when people listen to episodes of Conversation with Coach La, that they'll get some nuggets, they'll get some information. We talked about the concept of feeding forward today. And whatever works for you and helps you grow, take that, right? Take that information and let it be absorbed and metabolized, and you don't necessarily have to internalize any of this. But if anything on here doesn't resonate with you, you don't have to do anything with it. You can simply let it be like a mindfulness activity and let it just float right on by you.
Yeah. So, just pick somebody's brain and you don't have to agree with them. You just hear their perspective or perception of things.
Yes, you don't. So we are like almost wrapping up this conversation. Can you believe it?
Oh,
we got like 2 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I know. I told you it was going to go by fast.
That's crazy.
So shout out to everybody that's been tuned in, that's commented, that's just shown me and Mary some love tonight. If this conversation has resonated with you, I invite you to give us some hearts and some stars. Share it. Please share it. Make sure you tell somebody about Conversations with Coach La. If you know somebody who you want to invite on the show, shoot me a DM. Let me know if there's somebody you think I should talk to. Yes. But what's coming up next for you? Please give them all of the deets on how to find you, get in contact with you, book you, all of that good stuff. Yes.
So at the moment, y'all, you can find me on Instagram. I post on Instagram like religiously. That's my app. Ogbonné, Ogbonne. Orji, Orji, and then official. And I usually post a lot of my content on there. And I am currently, also I'm on YouTube, the Mary Orji Visionaries Collective. You can follow us and you can see all of my work and my visual album and everything. I talk about my projects on there. My website is www.maryorji.com. And yeah, you can find really all my links from that website and everything. So that's really not a problem. So I think that's pretty much that. And next up for me, right now I'm doing a lot of writing. So,
Yes.
I still have to release Perception, but, I have something else in the works, and a lot of collaboration is coming out of this period in time. So I'm working with a lot of different artists from different areas, and, in LA and in New York City right now. So that's coming up, and I have some gigs coming up as well.
1 second. Let's go. Let that go.
Expect the unexpected. Unorthodox radio from Boston and beyond. Heat981fm.com and iHeartStation.
Well, you guys, you know what that means. It means that we are wrapping up the conversation. We appreciate every single person that's tuned in tonight. Mary, thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you for having
me. Thank you for being here. And make sure you guys continue to bet on self. We'll see you next week for another